I'm Bodie Werner, a writer and movie maker, and I'm helping Clare Cooley share creativity with you. The show will start in a few minutes. Meanwhile, let me tell you the story of how she became a creativity coach. What is a creativity coach, you ask? Well, good question. As she puts it, her job is to help people strengthen their connection to their creativity, the confidence to express it, and the courage to share it with others. She is a National Endowment for the Arts grant-winning author, artist, and creativity coach. In her 20s, she was hired to teach her multimedia arts curriculum, Dancing into the Arts, in a different school each week. She taught all grade levels in the public schools, universities, hospitals, crisis and rehabilitation centers, juvenile halls, women's clubs, and the mental health courts, the clients and the lawyers, probation officers, and judges. Teaching ended up being the way that she went to school, because she stopped attending school regularly at 7 years old. Her inspirational life prompted many people to tell her to write, including me. Many said that her stories had helped them and would help others. The co-founder of the Sundance Film Festival, Serena Catania, called my mother's memoir and art book, Incandescence Rising Above Darkness, an instant classic. When Serena invited us onto her podcast, she said,
"You are describing some of the most difficult situations I've ever heard for a little girl to go through, but it's done in such a positive, lyrical, spiritual way that it really does rise above what was actually happening to you." And I think in that way, it can be very inspirational to people who are having a hard time, no matter what the hard time is. And I'm really highly recommending it.
I agree, and that's why I wrote a screenplay based on her 52 powerful stories. Even her recollections of the terrible things she went through in her dangerous upbringing leave people uplifted because of her spirit. She survived by focusing on serene nature and thrived through creative expression. My script made it to the second round of the prestigious Austin Film Fest script competition. But this isn't about me. Clare's art was selected by the Natural World Museum, and she's done multiple one-woman shows at the Karpelis Museum, including Warblers and Wildflowers and Sentinels of Serenity, Cranes. Also, Clare's art was selected for the juried section of the International Gift Show. Her paintings and china were displayed at the corporate headquarters of Chevron, where she hoped her respect for nature could do some good. Her art was on the cover of the Red Rose catalog, and the Pheasants Forever magazine selected her painting for the Pollinator Print of the Year. She was the featured artist at the Lodi Sandhill Crane Festival. Her portfolio has over 600 drawings, paintings, and etchings. And she's also got an additional 300 plus stencil designs. The limited edition prints that we make ourselves are available on her web store. The link is in the description. Her previous home, 7 Levels, was on the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art gallery tours. The entire interior was an expression of her creativity. She etched wisteria on the glass behind her 4-story copper stair rail vines. She designed and hand-painted furniture. Her table and cabinet were featured in the San Francisco Designer Showcase House. She made chandeliers, fireplace screens, floral and tabletop designs. Jewelry and wardrobe. She designed and hand-carved a 202-piece set of crane china. Each piece was unique, and each dinner plate depicted a different species of crane. Clare's first book was published by Pomegranate Art Books. For her Book of Cranes, she observed all 15 species of cranes. We followed the migration of the sandhill cranes across the country and interviewed nature conservation enthusiasts like George Archibald, the founder of the International Crane Foundation. Experiencing how well we worked together, I asked my mother to combine our complementary skills and named us Mother-Son Productions. The Napa Valley Arts Council asked Clare to do an art performance. Her Freedom Flight performance was dedicated to world peace and included 90 artists and the community who painted silk wings to dance in to live music. Clare's first public art performances were interpreting art at gallery openings. She did dance performances at live readings of children's stories and poetry. Clare and her dance skating partner Lateef Swain performed at Give Peace a Dance. They led the parade for the opening of the California Academy of Sciences. Clare skate danced at Theater Arto in the Nutcracker. Clare played the bamboo flute in the music she produced. She has been interviewed on the Women of Vision television show, on radio, and podcasts. We may not truly see those closest to us until something gives us a new perspective. When I was 16, she asked me to digitize her artistic portfolio, and I was able to take in the depth and breadth of her artistic accomplishments, which inspired my first movie, Life of Art. We chose a historic home by Lake Superior and named it after its original green-colored shingles. Our short documentary, Polishing the Emerald Lady, shows us restoring it. We even turned our over 100-year-old carriage house into the Carriage Creativity Studio, where we make movies, art, and even dance skate. Join Clare's Patreon for free to get ideas, instruction, and inspiration. Upgrade to a paid member.
Hello, I'm Clare Cooley. This is the Creativity Show. It's all about using our creativity to heal ourselves, enhance our lives, help others. And thank you, Bodhi, for your help. He's my son, the movie maker, who's the technical expertise. He asked me to work with him years ago, and I'm so grateful, and named us Mother-Son Productions. So I help him with his movie making, his novel writing, and he helps me with getting my art out there. And speaking of which, I want to thank the Minnesota State Arts Board for the grant to do these live streams, illustrating my life stories, my memoir, Incandescence Rising Above Darkness, that I wrote because many people asked me to, saying my stories helped them and would help other people. So I did my best to get over my shyness and the aversion all women have to talking about ourselves because, well, quite frankly, the sexist world puts women who are confident, who speak up, who know what they know and share it, puts them down. Even women can do that to each other. And it's what I call broken world rules. We are the only one that can share us with the world. And every one of us has beautiful, purposeful things we've learned, wisdom, perspective to share with the world, and the world needs it. Women need to rise up, speak up, shore each other up instead of compete with each other. That only helps the fear-based controllers. And at the pace we're going, I did a little research. It's the sources I researched said at the pace that women are rising up in the political law-making structure, it's going to take 130 more years to reach 50-50, which is where it should be for balance. I'm scared for the world, for humanity to survive, for all the species that we might take with us as we're denigrating the environment. So please let us shore each other up, rise up, not talk about the woman that's not there, not gossip, what a waste of our time, but share what we have. I share what has helped me, hoping it will help others. And I know that that people mistrust confident women, so all the studies say, but how unwise not to respect wisdom. The older we get, the more wisdom we should have if we process things. And so the more important it is for us to speak up. So don't follow the broken world rules and just be cute or sexy or pleasant. Be you. The only person in the world that can be you is you. And share what you know, that's especially stuff that's helped you to help others. And don't follow the broken world rules. So here's painting number, this is the third in my series, and it's called Quonset Query.
Nice. Hi everybody. I'm gonna
This
turn
is
on.
Bodhi.
Hello. I'm gonna turn on this camera so you guys can see it.
Oh, great. And I'm gonna work on it in front of you. But before I do, let me show you, I like to always wear an outfit and jewelry that I've made. So this is, stenciling on used clothes that first I dyed and added these shell buttons, and then did the lady slipper stencil on it with silver golden paint, which is in the, what do we call that? The
SVGs on Patreon. Patreon.com/Clare Cooley. And you can get those SVGs and cut them any size and you want to use.
right. So for clothes or bags or hats or walls, furniture, I've used them on platters. The only limitation to the ways you can use it are, our own imaginations, which are unlimited if we let them flow. So that's what this show is all about. And this grant to illustrate my life stories, what an interesting, fulfilling challenge.
Let's show you the painting big real quick. There you go. Let me
Okay.
adjust the lighting a little bit.
In this dry season, lotioning my hands. I want to make sure I don't get it on the painting. So I wear these fingerless gloves that give me dexterity but keep those oils off the painting.
Smart.
Thank you. I often mix media. So the Quonset hut was my first home outside my mother. And this is painting my path, I'm calling this, this artistic journey I'm on. And this is me, is in my first home. I was 1 year old, and the Quonset hut with the monsoon rains, I felt totally connected to the whole universe, which is why the universe is inside the Quonset hut, that thin metal layer with the deafening, thundering monsoon. It's been revealing to me to reflect on how connected, how powerful the universe, how I felt part of it, but a teeny little part of this immense universe. So I'm going to work on, the saguaros today.
Great.
I often mix, there's watercolor background, and I'm going to use a graphite pencil for some detailing in the saguaros. I used a little acrylic for the lightning. I'll probably use colored pencils to articulate the Quonset before it's done. I'll probably use acrylic white for the little light being 1 year old myself. And so if there are any questions or comments that come in, I'm happy to do my best to address them.
Yeah, give me a minute and I'll bring some out.
Great. So the saguaro, they're kind of like creatures. They have some really, their limbs and their posture is very creature, maybe creature from another world, or they're kind of humanoid with their saguaro arms. I don't know if they're called branches. They have these articulating lines, which is what I'm using graphite pencil to add for the control. So I often use watercolor and pencil together so that I can get the big, washy, free backgrounds and skies, and then do the articulations with a pencil that has the ability to be extremely detailed.
All right, you got a question from X Gopher on Twitch. What chapter is this drawing from? And I assume they mean from your book. And I'll put a link on the video for people to get to her book, her memoir and art, Incandescence, Rising Above Darkness. All right, plug over. There you go.
Okay, thanks for the question. And I think it's 55 stories in my book are all short stories that they stand alone, or they are a linear progression. The only thing linear about these illustrations and the book is I kind of start at the beginning. And this I believe is in my very first story, which I can't say I remember the title of right now. I think it's called Duality Dance. And it's about being born to polar opposite parents. My mother was as gentle, kind, supportive. My father was wounded and broken by life and angry and dangerous. So I call that first chapter Duality Dance and it talks about the monsoons on the roof. So even though this is the third painting, it's the first story in my book. The first two paintings I've done in this series, it's not a linear process. It's not a literal translation of the words to images. Each painting is a visual metaphor for something significant in my life, whether I wrote a story about it or not. The first two paintings, the very first one is, I would say, kind of my theory, belief on sort of my own creation story, which is before the Big Bang, it was love. So that painting is 73 different languages speaking love, the word for love. So that's the first painting. And the second painting is actually called Cloud Child. And it is showing me as a infant floating on a cloud in a sky of beautiful multicolored feathers. And it is basically a visual metaphor of feeling connected to birds and flight and the perspective floating high above things, which I have. My first published work was the Book of Cranes, and I've done more birds, though I've done outer space, insects, landscapes, a few people, still lifes, some I call string theory that are dancing lines, so very designy, but lots more birds recur in my work than any other one type of imagery. I have always felt a mysterious, wonderful connection with birds. So that's the second painting. And now this, the third, Quonset quandary, is how did I feel so safe with that powerful thundering monsoon rains on that thin tin roof of the Quonset hut? And why was it I felt so safe in such a tiny little being in such an immense universe? And I think if I had to answer that, it's because I feel connected to everything in the universe, not separate from, and which is scientifically accurate. We are connected to everything in the universe. The universe is in us, and we're in the universe, and we're all connected. So it's not like, I think the separation can give us a lot of anxiety, the feeling of being alone, separate from. It also is what bullies and dictators and power seekers, selfish power seekers, have always used that separate, divide and conquer. And I'm most interested in what brings us together. What do we have in common? And that is, we all want to be loved. We all want to feel love. We all want to give love and receive love. We all want to feel safe. And so we all want to feel at peace. But fear and anger is so easy, and blaming someone else is so much easier than taking responsibility for our own attitude. That unfortunately it is a very popular and very often used way to control people, is to get them to blame someone else, instead of, no, we're all connected, we're all in it together. We all breathe the air that travels around the world, the water, even the soil blows around the world. So we are literally connected. We all came from the same source. All of the materials that make us were formed in the heart of stars. So we're all actually stars that have been repurposed into people. And they have that in common. All spiritual belief systems. Jesus wasn't Christian. Mohammed wasn't Muslim. Buddha wasn't Buddhist. These are the religions that grew up around after their teaching. But what they were is they all believed love is most important, the connector. So I say let's just go to it and skip all the divisive things of needing to be, with one type of religious beliefs or another. What they all have in common is what really matters, and that's love. So and for me, loving the planet, loving the environment, that's how we'll survive. And if we don't get humble and realize we're connected to each other and all the resources, all the environments, we could extinct ourselves and take many other species with us, as we already have in our myopic greed. We should not be worshiping prosperity, power. We should be worshiping purpose.
Question coming on YouTube. How long is your book, and what's your favorite part of writing?
Thanks for the question. How long is my book? 55 stories. They're all relatively short.
I think it's 70-something thousand words.
70,000 words, and in between every story is a piece of my art, or several pieces of my art in some cases, because...
Can you reposition yourself?
Here. Now?
That looks good to me.
Okay. Yeah, I forget to look at the monitor. Thinking about the great questions people ask and working on the art is a lot for me. Looking at the monitor, that's I quite often forget. So the art is between each story, because creative reverie, meditating on and trying to portray the feeling that I got by observing nature is what helped me regain my peace when it was lost in the chaos around me, and to this day. So that is what I want to share, not only what I went through, it's called Incandescence Rising Above Darkness, because the judge who said her stories, like the women on death row, how'd she turn out so nice? I thought, well, maybe I do have something that could help other people. And it's what we focus on, not what happens to us, but what we do with what happens to us. And that's what informs who we are, who we become. And so find the beauty, no matter how little, how much chaos, hardship, struggle, abuse, violence. Find something beautiful. And for me, that's nature. So that's what I wanted to share between each story. So the other part of the question was my favorite part of writing. Facing my fear of speaking up, sharing myself. I have seen and experienced victims getting blamed. I choose to forgive it, though I don't respect it when people do that. I don't admire them for doing that, but I forgive them because I understand people want to think that they're not going to be a victim. Their daughter, their sister, their girlfriend, them, male or female, aren't going to be a victim because they're watching out for themselves. They want even victims, myself, there was a time when I wanted it to be my fault, because then I'd have control over it not happening again if it was my fault and I could fix that fault. But the truth is, perfectly good people who did absolutely nothing wrong, nothing to bring it on to themselves, can be victim of really painful, wrong stuff. And so blaming victims is unastute, unkind, unwise, and as a victim who has been blamed, also people can get mad if you bring up heavy stuff because they want to pretend like it doesn't happen, and maybe they're hiding from their own pains that they haven't processed, and it reminds them of that, and so they can be annoyed at someone who's honest because it reminds them of what they have hidden from themselves, submerged. So everybody wants to think the world makes sense, and it doesn't always. There are wounded people that don't feel good about themselves, haven't healed their wounds, and some people that feel like they have no power. So power over another person, even if it's, for a few minutes, or can distract them from their own sense of unworthiness. And that is not the victim's doing. And even though it's always the victimizer who's responsible for the whatever assault, the only one that's going to heal it is us. They're not going to heal it. Other people aren't going to heal it. We have to heal it. So we have to, that's why one of my stories is called Forgiveness is the Best Revenge, because then they can't hurt us anymore. We don't have that heavy pain, dark anger in our heart. I just heard Danny Kaye just turned 100, and one of the things he said is he doesn't have any pains in his body. He's 100 and just still lovely and lighthearted. And he said, his father had a lot of anger, and he chose, I guess, I don't know that he said he chose not to be angry, but he doesn't hate. He's not angry, and it doesn't mean we don't get, he doesn't get disappointed or hurt, but he just lets it go. And I believe that's why my story is called Revenge. The forgiveness is the best revenge, because then the perpetrator of the hurt can't hurt us anymore, because we're not keeping that hurt in our heart. It's for us to forgive. It's not for them. They have to forgive themselves. And some people can't, and some people can, and that's their karma. My father couldn't forgive himself for, trigger alert, some heavy stuff, and it's in my book. It's open about it, but he asked me, can you ever forgive me? And I said, I did that long ago. I didn't want that in my heart. I hope you can forgive yourself. But apparently he couldn't, because he ended up later taking his own life. And I wish he could have forgiven himself. And I'm really glad that I forgave him, and that I got to say that to him and suggest that he forgive himself.
Got another one on YouTube, and that is, people are too afraid of being a downer. I wish more people were real like you.
Thank you. That's a very kind thing to say. Life can be a downer, and the way to face that is to let the dark out bring it out into the light, see that we all go through dark stuff and we can get through it. But being ashamed of it, keeping it inside, that is not getting through it. That's letting it have power over us. And I know so many stories because I decided at 25 I was going to be honest and open about what happened to me, my truth. I was going to share it. And because I do, I hear things that most people don't. And it's incredibly common that people get abused. And I don't tell anyone else's stories. I give people the grace and respect to tell their own stories. I don't repeat other people's stories. But I do encourage people to share your stories because we all go through disappointments. We all have been hurt. And it helps us know that we're not alone and we can rise above it. And in fact, it's nothing to be ashamed of. What we do with it, if we turn it into wisdom and strength, is actually an asset, nothing to be regretful of. So if everything that happens, especially the difficult stuff, makes us stronger, then nothing to regret. And that's a powerful and beautiful place to live. No regrets. There are people I choose to love at a distance because they've lost my trust based on things they've done or said. But I don't hate them. And if I'm angry at someone, I process it until I'm not. And if somebody says something insulting, I have a habit, which happens a lot in this world, especially to women, and especially, women about women. I take it out of the WTF, what the F file, and I put it in the WTF, well, that's funny file by making the insult into something humorous so it doesn't hurt me. And sometimes I can do that really fast and I'm kind of smiling after an insult and that really makes them mad, but that's okay with me. If they get mad that I can find humor in their insult, well, I guess that's their karma. So, make it funny.
And then from MOM on YouTube, I'm searching for my artistic friend community. Don't I know how that is? Meeting a lot of new folks while doing it. Not sure which ones are keepers yet. What are your red flags and green flags when meeting new artists / collaborators?
Thank you. That's a fabulous question. And even at my mature age, it's always a good question. So those who can and do shore us up, not tear us or others down. And those who spend time, well, quite frankly, gossiping about people that aren't there, which unfortunately a lot of women do to kind of bond with each other. I chose very young in life not to do that. And I was literally told by women that they didn't trust me because I didn't gossip. And I said, well, I'm the one you should trust because I'm not talking about you when you leave the room. But that can be pretty radical for some people, but that's okay. We don't need, I don't think we need to be wildly popular to be happy, content, fulfilled, feel loved. We do need a few people that we can really trust are totally our champion. So do they compliment you sincerely, not kissing your butt, but being real, shoring you up? Do they listen? Do they remember what's important to you? Those are all good signs of someone who can be there for you. Often, cold, competitive, manipulative people can be very charming and charismatic. So it really sometimes takes a lot of discernment and spontaneous shoring us up. I didn't go to school growing up, so I didn't learn the high percentage of women that compete with each other, which I understand, I forgive, but I don't admire, because, you know, women, it's harder for women, so they are afraid of men most of the time, and so they too good to take it out on kids, who's left, other women. But I don't admire it, and it's disappointing, but there are some who can shore you up, and that's what you want. And not always kind words, sometimes critical, but coming from love, telling you the truth, but never in front of others to embarrass you or make fun of you, take you aside if they need to tell you something that should be private. So treat you with respect and kindness. And it's so common to be snarky, sarcastic. Oh, I'm jealous of that, or I'm jealous of this, and look at her, and what is she thinking, and who does she think she is? It's so common. It's not acceptable. And women who do that, I'm okay to have a few that don't do that instead of a bunch that do. I don't need lots. I don't think any of us do. We need a few. Hopefully that helps. And I'm still trying to figure it out. That's the hardest part of not going to school for me, was I'm still shocked at my ripe age at how much competitiveness there is among women. It just doesn't. My mother never competed with anyone, and always and only shored me up. So I thought there'd be a lot more of that in the world than unfortunately there is. But find the few that can be there for you and be there for them, and love the others from a distance.
Fantastic. Very well put.
Well, it's a great question, and I believe not only is it fair and right, but the world needs women to step up and be there for each other, because we got some big problems. And we need the nurturers, not just the power seekers, those who are thinking about everybody, not just themselves. So I'm putting some lines for this Quonset hut to look like it was built. And I thought the deep space inside the Quonset hut kind of looked like a kimono, which is an often used symbol. I have the 4 seasons. I've done the kimonos with 4 seasons stencils, botanicals and animals, and the 4 different metals. So winter is silver, spring is bronze, summer is gold, and autumn is copper. And but the kimono I thought was interesting. I follow my instincts, and then I go, wow, okay. I didn't really know I was thinking that. And then I see it. And that's kind of a cool journey with instincts as our guide. We learn things about ourselves if we let our instincts guide us, and we keep learning. And you know, our art is ours. It's us. It's there. My mother was classically trained, got a degree from an art school, but she always said the rules don't matter for you. You just follow your heart and you stop when it's done. And I feel so fortunate that I had a mother that was the champion of me being me. Instead of, you got to do it this way or that way. No, you learn the rules, you just have to forget them, she said. And she was, you know, trained at the museum school next to the museum in Boston, and read all the books and knew all the artists, and still she knew that my way was, she called me the elegant primitive, my style, of my artistic style.
MOM on YouTube said, love that answer, thanks. And then MB on YouTube said, I didn't put it up on the screen, so I'm paraphrasing. Make up your own rules.
That's right. I have very few in life because I love creating. That's what my life is full of. No matter what job I had to do to pay the bills, because I never borrowed money. I really never had anybody support me, and I took in my 2 nephews and my mother. So I've done a lot of different jobs, but they were always jobs where I didn't have to think about them when I wasn't there. Painting houses, waitressing, cleaning houses, working on the boats with the longshoremen, all kinds of menial stuff, exercise my body, but I didn't have to think about it when I wasn't there, so I could think about my art, which is what gives me joy. And so the only rules I have is don't waste, because that hurts the planet. Don't hurt anybody, including myself, or anybody else. Other than that, you know, and I try not to waste time. I organize my stuff so that when it's time to do an artistic project, I know where my materials are, I know where my tools are, and I put them away. Whenever I'm overwhelmed, I organize something to get grounded, and then when I get back to creating, there's something that's been organized, so I'm not just spinning my wheels like, what shall I do next? And I don't feel the inspiration. If I'm overwhelmed, uninspired, I organize something, and there's always something that can be a little better organized. And then when it's time, when the inspiration returns, it can flow efficiently. So I'm not wasting time. I don't like to waste time or materials. It's also why I don't gossip, and I don't talk about things that I don't think there's any hope that what I say can help anybody, help the world, because that feels like a waste of my time. So I share things that have helped me, because I'm just a person. It could help me, it could help someone else.
What materials are you using?
Watercolor is the base. Right now I'm using graphite pencil to put in wood lines in the front of the Quonset hut. The stars and the lightning are acrylic paint. Before this piece is done, undoubtedly there will be some Prismacolor pencil for detailing some, most likely. And but those are very commonly combined mediums for me. My book of cranes, where I painted all 15 species of cranes, is watercolor and Prismacolor. It's very common for me to combine those. And I love oil paintings. I respect them, but I don't work with oils because the smell, I don't like breathing the smell. And doesn't feel, you know, if it's well ventilated, I'm sure that it can be done without damaging our health. But, you know, this is winter and we want to keep the house closed up for keeping it warm. So, and I love the flow of watercolor. I love, well, that it's an element that occurs in nature, that in fact all life is based on, I guess. Bless you.
Excuse me.
And thank you, whoever said they appreciated my answer. I hope I speak up, even though I can be criticized for it, because I am a woman and I'm an older woman. And but I think it's broken world rules that we shouldn't speak up as women, and especially as older women, because we've lived through some stuff. And so we have some wisdom to share. And boy, does the world need it. The nurturers, those who are thinking about everybody, not just themselves. Ooh, I'm liking how this pattern is making this feel like it's been built by people instead of, you know, grew in nature. Enjoying that. And this idea of the universe inside the Quonset hut these are visual metaphors for my life. So it's the feeling of connected to everything, and how that still to this day gives me comfort. You know, oop, that got curvy. That didn't work. That happens. An eraser is a really important tool. And where is my brush? What happened to my brush? But I have, not sure where it is. I usually brush those off with a brush that has somehow gotten away from me. Well, this stretched watercolor paper on this masonite to keep it from wrinkling during the water process gives it this curve that, like this particular job, makes it hard to get that straight, but we'll go with it. Any other comments that?
Yeah. On Twitch, you got a comment you've gotten before, which is asking, do you plan out your color palette? So you want to talk about the colors you have going on and how you chose them, and if you thought about it ahead. And I also want to point out that this color kind of matches your outfit, which is cool.
Thank you. I get to follow my instincts with my creativity, like what I'm gonna wear. I try to wear something I've created, jewelry and outfit for every live stream. And from clothes that were either given to me, somebody grew out of or didn't have a use for, or I got at a used store, so they're deals, and sometimes they had a stain on them that I put the stencil over. So I like to repurpose, recreate, and be frugal and not wasteful. So I get dressed for the color often that I want to be in. So I didn't really think about this color matching this until Bodhi just said that they are kind of the salmon sand of the desert. So the color palette for my art, I get to follow my instincts, and I get to enjoy the process, like going on a trip somewhere that I've never been, and I'm going to see new things I've never seen before. Every piece of art, every piece of writing, every piece of flute music is brand new, something I've never done before. That's my joy. And I don't repeat things. I keep doing new, never been there before. So every piece of art is like going on a trip someplace I've never seen, and I get to see things I've never seen before. And so in that, with that attitude, I love to, one of my principles is only decide what I have to decide, which is this painting, this visual metaphor is me as a little girl and the Quonset hut with the monsoon rain and the deafening, thunderous lightning, but some bright at the horizon, and the expansive saguaro desert openness, and then just do one thing at a time. And when I do that, then the next thing I make a decision on. So I sketch the idea in my head, and it's more about the story than anything else. What is the story? And the feeling for this is a teeny little person, a 1-year-old light being, which we all were at some point, in this immense universe with all this power and this light and these kind of friendly, almost whimsical saguaros connected to all of it, and so vulnerable, and in this magnificent power of the natural world and the mysterious cosmos. So the feeling is what I ruminate a lot about before I begin. The colors I decide at the moment. So I choose the mission of the painting, and it's to show vulnerability connected to the vast universe and in harmony with it. That's the feeling. And so when I get to the sky, I pick the colors, and then it's just next and next until it feels done. And then I work on the next piece. And so everybody has their own process and should. And some people like to sketch, and I pick the mission of the feeling of the piece very carefully, and then I begin and follow my instincts. And I finish everything I start, because I've learned over the years, well, first I made that commitment young, because if you're going to be an artist, there's going to be a critical voice that's going to come out and say that doesn't work and that's not good enough, and a lot of artists wreck their work and walk away from it and quit. And I decided that's wasteful and that's not self-loving, it's overly critical. So I'm going to finish everything I start. And some of my pieces I was most critical of during making them have turned out to be, well, beloved by a lot of people, including me. So we're not always working on the conscious level, we're working from deep within us. So I try to go slowly, I try to enjoy the process, and I finish everything I start. There you go. How's that?
Freaking fantastic.
Is there any other questions or comments I should address? And I would assume we're at a good time.
I think we're at the perfect time, and so I don't see any right now. I'll make sure to log any of them for next time.
Well,
It's 103, so perfect timing.
Wow, it's interesting. Every time I do this, I get into the flow, and time evaporates, which is part of why it's so restorative and healing. And I like to say there are the healing arts and there are the arts that heal. And may you all find some creative expression that heals your hearts and share it with others. The world needs, we can't have too much peace increased in the world, especially now. So thank you for being here. Please tell a friend. I'm a typical artist. I don't know how to promote myself, and it's a completely different skill set. So I appreciate it when other people pass the word on. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for your help, Bodhi. Thank you, Minnesota State Arts Board, and all the contributors that made this grant possible. And I'm learning a lot about myself, and thank you for every one of your questions and